Here, back with another one, and I want to see how much smoother this gimbal is. I hate gimbals. That's why I never really bought a gimbal before. But the video I feel like was just too shaky, so I'm gonna try this out and see if I can get a feel for it. I don't know. I just hate gimbals. Like, I go right, the thing goes left. I go left, the thing goes right. The only time it makes sense is when I press up, it goes up. When I press down, it goes down. So let's see. But yeah, yesterday I was talking about how kind of lost I was in my content creation, because I really don't know what's working. I don't know if it's not working because I'm not getting views, or I don't know if it's not working because it's just not good. When I get personal feedback, of course there's critiques, but it could also be because, hey, nobody really wants to tell you what it is. Also, I forgot to remind you, for me to try this out, I had to take off the mic extension from the phone, so I know I'm wearing my mic, but you'll hear everything that's going on, so I apologize. Yeah, I was just lost with a bunch of different things, especially how the viral videos were going, just the direction of my channel, because of course I want travel to be that vehicle, but I want the channel itself, like the theme of the channel, the niche, to be just going after freedom. Like, and it's weird. I understand. Okay, let me break down that concept of freedom. And I did it briefly before, but again, it's the argument of determinism versus free will, right? No one's ever really truly free. You're always influenced by something, right? But then it also comes to the general definition, which is, well, if you're not free, you're a slave. I kind of feel like what they did was mental. Like, at least during slavery, you knew, because of the physical chains and the whips and the dogs, that you were enslaved. You knew it. It's like, you know your enemy because he has no problem letting you know the enemy. But the enemy you have that smiles in your face and hides a knife behind their back, that's the enemy you gotta fear. And I feel like that's pretty much what today is. So, for example, those that be, whoever those that be are, I don't care, pick a name. It's not the government, because there's somebody higher than the government, clearly. If the government can borrow money, then obviously there's an institution higher. And we know that they can borrow money because they pumped $2.1 trillion into the economy during the coughing situation. But we understand that if they got to go to a bank, then there's people higher than that institution. And they set inflation, right? They pretty much set the prices. They can sit there and be like, you know what, we want cars to be more, transportation to be more expensive. So let's reduce the oil supply by saying, you know, it's a war on the oil or whatever, and then gas lines go crazy, right? So they literally have some kind of control, and they have plausible deniability to sit there and be like, well, the reason the oil went up is because of the war, and they won't take blame for it, even though they probably orchestrated it, right? But let's just even go simpler. Lifestyle, cost of living. What if we say, because we understand that people play Monopoly and it gets crazy at the Monopoly table, even with family, right? So let's imagine people are playing Monopoly in real life. But somehow in the middle of the Monopoly board, instead of a bunch of colorful artwork, there's a risk board. And they're playing Risk and Monopoly at the same time. That is called geopolitics, my friend. Now, imagine that within one's country, we understand the different levels of life, because what you and I live generally are in probably the lowest tier of life. Then when you start to get to the 100, when you're making high 100,000s, you're in another tier. Then you're probably in the millionaire tier, then the tens of millions, hundreds of millions, etc. Right? I would say each tier is about a derivative of 10. What that means is just add a 0. And if lifestyle we want for the middle class to be at, because don't forget, it's shrinking now, so you can't sit there and be like, well, middle class is this amount. No, that's what you think, because you know how to maintain your lifestyle within your budget. But I'd argue middle class is probably anywhere from 200 grand up. They have a study where it's like after 75,000, it doesn't really help your happiness. But I don't know if that's true. Because I could definitely see happiness making more than that. But lifestyle will be at, like, let's say 200,000, right? But now if they want you to elevate your lifestyle, they'll make sure to calculate in your lifestyle at $1 million level, and then say, hey, if you're making this much, you're in this class. So now what they're doing is controlling exactly how much it is to live a certain life, right? Then, because they're controlling how much it is to live a certain life, they can manage minimum wage and all that stuff to, keep you at a level that makes sense. First of all, if you're trading time for money, which most of us are doing, then you're already behind the pack. You know what I mean? Not to mention now you have them controlling what your income is, because they literally get to write a law and say, hey, this is the minimum wage income. You know what I mean? Like, they can set that. You already know companies are done to make a profit. So they're going to pay you a fraction of what the company actually makes. But then they also have operational expenses, this, that, and the third. Then they want to take their profit. So it kind of makes sense, right? Again, plausible deniability is written all over this. You have a bunch of people who are running companies, running businesses, and in some cases running conglomerates. And those conglomerates own a complete sector of a certain industry. Like, let's take Google. Google is under so many EU lawsuits because what they're doing is creating a very monopolized entity. They own Workspace, where you can create docs, slides, PowerPoints. Well, it's the same thing. Google Sheets. Then they also have YouTube. They have the largest search engine in the world. They have a plethora of things. Google Trips is a thing. Then they have their Gemini. They have a bunch of things that's all under the brand of Google. And Google's not even the top parent company. It's Alphabet. And Alphabet also owns a bunch of different things like Waze, things like that. So they're owning a monopoly. They're taking all the profit. Let's look at something specific. Google Maps. Google Maps is a thing that Google owns. And it's completely generated by users. All those questions that you get on Google Maps, like, oh, is the bus crowded today? How is the traffic? Is there a stoplight here? Blah, blah, blah. All those things is all generated by the users. But ask if any of those users get paid. It's kind of like the same thing as YouTube. YouTube pays its content creators above a certain milestone for bringing people to the channel. Well, Google Maps has Google Local Guides. Google Local Guides is something where all you do is get brownie points for submitting the most amount of content to the channel. But though that content is actually what people use to judge their favorite business. The reviews, the pictures, the videos, everything. determining if whatchamacallit is. See, this is why I hate the gimbal. Determining whether a train is busy or not, or if it's cold or not, or if there's a cop on board, or if there's a security guard, a camera light, something. These are all done by the users. Ask anybody if they've gotten paid from Google Maps, and it's the same exact concept as YouTube. But YouTube, they have a requirement, a gate of entry before you do get paid, which makes sense. They want to make sure that the apocalypse doesn't happen again. So not anybody could just make content and those ads will go on top of it. So because of that, just looking at that right there, you can see how the larger company takes advantage of the smaller people. Well, now, if it's a class, you take advantage of a certain class, you still need a working class. You can't make life so good where people feel like they don't have to work for your company. So they need people that are in a certain class. And they need the majority to be that way, because the more people in that class is the amount of times they multiply 24 hours in a day. Everybody you have working for your company, you multiply those 24 hours times the amount of employees you have. Boom. Obviously, they're not working all 24 hours, but you get the point. So they need that. So why would it be an incentive to give people more money when that means less people would work? You understand? Secondly, think about it in terms of politics. It baffles me when a celebrity comes out here and endorses the Dems, right? And people gobble it up. But why would a celebrity endorse the Democrats when the concepts of Republican versus Democrat, at least one of the main concepts in my opinion, because I feel like money rules a lot of things, one of the main concepts would be that the Republicans make their money, so they want to keep everything they have. And the Democrats are essentially like, well, let's take from the rich and give to the poor. Now, how that's done is through a certain different type of laws. So what they do is they came to an understanding. For the Republicans to win, they know that if you have a light LLC, you can get tax write-offs. So what an LLC does is allow you to get the money first before you have to pay taxes at the end. You only pay tax one time, outside of sales tax. But if you don't have an LLC, then you're using your social security number. And all that stuff, you're going to be taxed first before you get your money. And then you have different tax breaks depending on what it is that you're doing. So you're going to have different tax advantages as an LLC owner. But those that don't know are getting taxed based on what the general tax thing is. Not realizing there's a whole nother side to tax with LLCs where they're getting most of the tax breaks, which is someone like a Republican would understand, because they are generally taking advantage of that. And that's why the happy medium works, because most people don't have an LLC. So because of that, more people are gaining awareness to it. I'd say more people have LLCs than ever probably in history now, but it's still a low percentage compared to the amount of people in the world, or at least in the United States. So because of all that stuff, it can be controlled. It can be completely controlled, and then there's plausible deniability to say, well, we let you guys do whatever we want. You can pick. You're not being chased by cops anymore. You're not being chased by, dogs, this, that, and the third. You get to live on your end. Nobody can whip you, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, you're now going home mentally drained, because you can't keep up with the inflation prices. You can't keep up with the lifestyle. You can't do anything that you want to do because you don't have the money to do it. Essentially, that is a lack of freedom 101. And because it's not physical, people are like, well, it's better than yesterday. But is it? Is it better than yesterday? They have just found a way to make slavery legal. That's all they did. And I know people are going to fight me on this, but if you really sit there and think about it, they have allowed you to do whatever you want to do within the confines. They even allow you to get on a plane so you can take a breather off for a couple of days. You can't, there's no way you're going to be able to uproot your life and say, hey, I want that lifestyle. Don't get me wrong, there's laws in place, because you can't just sit there and be like, well, I want to live here and do it. You got to go through visas, you got to go through situations. Sometimes you got to do a border run, whatever the case may be. But you can't just up and do that. That's why things like this is like usually a dream, because it's kind of hard to do it, especially when you're making 500 to 1,000 a week. Like, it just is what it is. And then you're getting taxed off of that. So the reason why I'm saying that I want my freedom is just the ability to feel as though that whatever I manifest, I can do within, obviously, the constraints of what makes sense. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, well, I'm trying to own the Cowboy Stadium. Like, no, I have to work my way up to that, but I should be able to at least live, get food. I mean, you ever go to the grocery store? Are you kidding me? You should be able to get food, your transportation, your housing, clothes. All this stuff should be a fraction of what you make, no matter what job you have. No matter what job you have. But you're not working at Dollar Tree and owning an apartment. And if you are, then all of your check is going into that. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? I think there's a study that says more millennials are living at home more than ever before, because they can't afford to pay the rates of what living on your own does. That sounds like that doesn't sound like freedom to me. And then what's funny is that most people will buy these places and then they'll rent them out. Soon landlords are becoming super saturated because everybody owns and nobody buys. What is it? You'll own nothing and be happy? What does that sound like to you? That's just my question to you. All right, y'all. It's your boy Chris Jack, Canvas Nomad here. Like, comment, subscribe. And I'm telling you, just sit there and reflect. No one's ever truly going to be free because of influence, but the illusion of free will make you think that you're free within a jail cell. All we did was found a way to beautify our jail cells by the car we drive, by the house we live in, and of course the company we keep. That helps, not to mention the family we bring up. But really all you did was move your cell from cell block 1 to cell block A. That's all you really did. Just think about it. Alright, y'all, you made it this far in the video. You my friend. I appreciate it. Peace. Oh, Lord have mercy.